curtain for me too. It's thanks. Yeah, my nervous system was just having a hard time getting. Just like, I just got to take a moment. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as we plant our feet on the floor, let's take a few breaths as a group as we inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. Do that a few times, inhaling through the nose, exhaling out the mouth. And as you do that, as many times as you need, letting the sound, the release coming in, seeing if the knees can soften. Maybe the lips purse a little bit and blow the exhalation through the pursed lip, and you'll notice that lengthening happening of the exhalation, which is a really good regulation tool of the nervous system. So whenever we extend the exhale longer than our inhale, we regulate our nervous system from being in a stress response to a regulatory place of well-being. So it's a really good tool to keep in mind as it's quick. Good. And as we feel the feet planting, I just want you to notice the toes a little bit today. And I just want to drop into the transverse arch. So I'm just going to move this dowel out of the way so you can see. So whichever foot you want as an awareness, I want you just to try to lift the toes up and see this mound here, which is at the base of the metatarsals. There's a knuckle, which on the other side is a big toe mound. I want you to press that into the floor and then also feel in the pinky toe. So as the toes lift, can you press those two mounds into the floor and just do one foot to see if you can just find one foot, and you'll feel, I'll do it on this one. If your muscles on the sole of the foot are a little bit weak, you'll notice when you lift the toes, it will strengthen these muscles. So if you do have a foot that rolls in, sometimes it's one foot rather than the other. And then you can feel this whole arch, right, going around that transverse arch. And then plant the toes on that side. Feel the connection of the big toe and all the toes in between and the pad. And then really feel the inner heel and the outer heel. So we were thinking big toe to outer heel, pinky toe to inner heel, but really sense that rooting down. And as you root that down, I was thinking about this week and bringing in some old cues that I used to use in connecting through the core, and thinking on putting in like a jacket or a sweatshirt or something. And when you zip up the zipper, right? So both sides come together and then you pull up and you zip up the zipper, thinking about that as well. And so I was just kind of bringing back a few things in that awareness. So you might even think about that today as you root down, pulling up, and see without shifting the hips if the foot can come off the floor. And so when we drop the hip out, we're losing that connection to the big toe mound and the pinky, and the inside of the heel. Yes, there it is. That's changed quite a bit, Catherine, in the last couple of weeks, right? Yeah. So as you feel that, notice if you just want to be in stillness, sometimes even moving around and being able to catch yourself and regroup helps with your proprioception. And then you're going to start to roll. And I've just got the ball here, so I'm going to start with that. But you can start with the dowel, rolling from the toes to the heel. Feel your breath and keep awareness, even though your focus is shifting on the foot that you're rolling. Keep awareness on how you're distributing the weight on your standing foot and leg. Good. And then once you've rolled from the toes to the heel a few times, you can start to move around and allow yourself to be guided to where you feel there's maybe a little bit more holding. Keep thinking of finding that inner lift and gathering in and up through the body. There might be a little bit of rotating through the foot. I'm just pausing in a little bit of held compression that I'm offering to my inner arch. I have quite high inner arches, so sometimes I just have to release mine. Just taking that time to complete this first side. And then once you're ready, you can pause and check in if you're using the ball to make sure that you wrap the toes around the ball. And if you're using the dowel, then taking some time to stand on the dowel, and you can do with one foot or both feet. And you really want to find the mound of the big toe and the pinky toe. Once you do that, you'll notice the dowel pushing up on the metatarsals and allowing the top of the foot to spread, and also the inside of the foot. And the toes are really hanging off. And as you've rolled, for most of us, one foot, you might feel the difference between right and left. Can let your awareness, if it feels right for you, travel up the leg. Good. And then just seeing if that first foot wants anywhere else to release before you move on to feeling the second foot. So take that time. You might just feel, can I lift the toes and find that whole transverse arch? So at the very end of our step, when we're walking, this is the part of the foot that we're propelling off of. So as the heel strikes and we transfer the weight from the heel to the inner arch, the transverse arch and the toes are where we're kind of pressing off at the very end. So as you find that transverse arch and then root down, you can feel that connection of the whole foot. And then doing the rolling through the foot. Yeah. Off. Yeah. Well, there's probably a weakness in the lateral arch, which is on the outside of the foot. So wondering, just kind of watching where you shift the weight. You can't lift up your pinky toe. So when you've got the transverse arch, yeah. So there could be a little congestion fascially in that area. It could be in the foot, but it could be up in the shin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And keep practicing it for sure. Yeah. Because we find pathways in the body sometimes where you're like, oh, that's really clear. Right. And then other times, we find pathways that the movement is not very clear. And you know this with dance too. I know one of my teachers, she's a dance therapist, and she creates all these movements, and sometimes she says them to me and I'm like, what? And your brain sometimes doesn't commute, right? Like what is happening. And so you just keep at it, and in time it will connect with more ease and clear that pathway. I know we haven't done one in a while, but I used to do the sunbird. Do you know sunbird? It's on hands and knees, one arm up and one leg down, right? And I've done sunbird. And I think you remember this one, Mom. Sunbird walk. Yeah, we'll do it today just for fun. It's a little bit of right brain, left brain. Yeah. Darn it, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Yeah. Okay, so in this last part, if you're using the ball, you do want to put it underneath the front part of the foot. But in this second part, if you're using the dowel, you can find the heel bone. And you can also pump it with the ball as well. But you do want to take some time just to stand with the very center of the heel, so you can locate the heel bone. So whenever we do standing postures or we stress the bones a little bit, we initiate the osteoblasts inside the bones to create more bone density. And all of us know as we age, right, we're creating less bone density. We're losing proprioception. So that's why we always start a lot with proprioception in class. And just as we're standing here, let's just do a little release of the neck. So we're going to just very gently bring the chin down towards the chest without dropping the chest. So keeping that nice lift inside the body. And then we're just going to bring the chin over so that the gaze very gently is looking over one shoulder. So you can go from whichever you want. And then you're going to do a half circle. So the chin's going to come down. You can inhale here. And then as you exhale, bring the chin to the other side, keeping the shoulder blades anchoring down your back, the front of the chest lifted, and just flow from side to side. Just working a little bit of mobility, just so that the bones can just receive this nourishment over the next couple breaths, and then finish that off. Okay, stepping off and then seeing if there's any part of the foot that needs to release to complete that. I'm going to move my stuff really far out of the way for me because I'm not going to move for my wall support. Okay, and so as we come, we're going to move to the wall in a moment, but before we do that, let's just do a few swinging twists just to release the spine. And then we're going to strengthen the legs and the outer hips with our block sequence. Maybe the hands tap and touch the body. So tapping, which some of you have done in the Tuesday class or do it frequently, it's a really good way to ground the body and also increase your awareness of the body. And so the proprioception increases when we tap. Sometimes when I feel a little bit that I'm not in my body, I'll just take a moment just to tap through and feel, oh, here's the perimeter of my body. Since we're focusing a little bit more on the myofascia, the muscles and the fascia connection. Okay, so you're gonna, when you go to the wall, take what you need, and you can always go back to your mat. So you can choose to stand. So you have two options, chip foam block, or you can stand on the 4-inch block. You will need your inflated ball and then a ball to release with after. So I'm just going to move my mat a little bit away. You won't need your mat. And so you can take, let's all stay on the same side so that I can lead with ease. So we're going to stand with our left foot on the block. Excuse me. And if you're using a wall, your left side is closest to the wall. So you can use the left arm, the left hand to press into the wall, because the tendency is to lean into the wall. And so you're going to stand, if you're using the chip foam block like me, you want to make sure you bend your knees a little bit so that you can get weight in your toes. Okay, so this right leg is just dangling as we swing, and we're lifting up through core. So you want to try not to let the body sway too much around. So keep integral to the body. You're not leaning into the wall. You're just letting flexion and extension happen in the hip. When the leg goes back, you're keeping it straight. So you're trying not to bend the leg, the knee. So nice and straight. And then pause. So what you're doing on this left foot, left leg, you're strengthening. So keep that big toe mound, inner heel. Okay, keep leaning into the wall as you go up and out to the side. So if you think of a clock, you're coming to 3 o'clock. Okay, so this is the outer abductors called your tensor fascia latae. Below it is your iliotibial band. And then you're going to pause, and we're going to go back to 4 or 5 o'clock. Once again, keep lifting up through center line. There we go. Okay, come out. Stand, you're feeling the standing leg as well. So just doing a little circling in between. So a little bit of flexibility in with the stability. So you can circle, you can do a figure 8. Just notice that you're doing it in both directions. Hands can be on hips or down by your side. Make sure you switch. Sometimes a full shakeout of each leg, each arm is needed. And then you're going to switch sides. Good. So take some time. Yeah, leaning into the wall. See if you can look straight ahead as you swing. Keep lifting up or zippering up your zipper. Good. Going slow here to find the alignment. Once you've done your flexion and extension, you can pause, go out, straight out to the side. So clockwise, that's 9 o'clock. You might notice, one hip is a little bit weaker than the other. Watch you not leaning into the wall, so you're pressing the arm into the wall. Once you've done 4, 5, 6 of those, you're going to go to 7, 8 o'clock. Your medius back part of it is an external rotator, stabilizes the hips. Good. When you're done, come off. See how you feel. Whew. Yeah, one side is like, hey. So we do those sometimes on the floor, right? And so other way of doing them, standing. And now we're going to do some release. So you're just going to move those blocks. So now that we've got our abductors involved in supporting us, we're going to take the slow-mo ball and put it behind. So around the base of the shoulder blades to start. You're going to lean back into the wall. Let your feet come away about 2 feet or so. And the pelvis you want to watch because it wants to push forward. So you're going to sink down as you bend your knees. And so we're going to start rolling up and down. So just checking in how your knees are tracking as you're coming up and down. And you might find, oh, I need to move the slow ball up a little bit, or I need to move it down. So when you're coming up, press the feet into the floor to help assist you in coming up. So just doing nice and linear just to activate the quadricep muscles to start. Supporting the knees. Good. So we're doing the combing of the muscles closest to the spine. And then you can start to go what we call cross fibering. So most of the back muscles are vertical. So when we cross fiber from left to right, we're helping to release when some of these muscles might be tight and long, which means they could be a little bit weak. So tight and sometimes weak. I want you to notice the 2 shoulder blades on each side of the torso, the upper back. Notice the space in between them, which are your rhomboid muscles. We're going to be working on the mobility of our shoulder blades a little bit more over the next couple weeks. And then checking in, do I want to lower the ball down? Okay, so for a while, we focused a lot on the quadratus laborum muscle, which attaches to the top of the hip and the lower rib. Its job is to assist in breathing, but it also, for some of us, over engages and creates a shortening on one side, especially if we have a habitual pattern or a little bit of a sclerotic curve. Good, and then just let yourself be guided through. So you might roll down a little bit more. For me, I'm getting guided into the back of the pelvis. So you might go up and down, you might go side to side, you might do a combination of both. Being aware of pulling up on that inner zipper awareness as the feet stay equally rooted. So checking in, am I lifting my outer heels up, my inner heels? Am I not rooting in one part of the foot, maybe in the toes? So keep your foundation, because that is really supporting what is happening through the pelvis and also through the shoulders, as the shoulders rest on that lower body support. I'm just going up higher to the higher part of the shoulder blades. Just going to take my hair out of the equation here, as the slow-mo ball likes to grab that. But the most superficial muscles, which means closest to the skin, is our trapezius. And so the upper traps connecting to the base of the skull out to the tip of the shoulders, and then kind of going in a kite formation down across the shoulder blades. So the upper part, the fibers lift up. So when we get a little bit stressed, when there's a lot going on, when we feel a little bit more emotional, the upper fibers will tighten and we'll feel like we're carrying the weight of the world on the shoulders. And so you might just take some time to massage here. The other one that we did last week that I wanted to bring in was pec. So we did pec minor. So we can soften and warm up. So what we're doing is warming up the muscles and the fascia. So you can also use the slow-mo ball across the front of the chest. So nice. Yeah. So check what the arms want to do. And once you've warmed the muscles and the fascia, so that's what we're using the slow-mo ball for, is we're warming all of the tissue, which is so important before we go deeper. Okay, so you can stay with the slow-mo ball. You can move deeper into using the pink ball or the spiky ball, but just take a moment if you do go a little bit deeper to exhale, pause, and let your pressure increase slowly. So the slow-mo ball is really spreading everything and using a wider surface of the ball to affect a bigger part of the muscles and the fascia. So when you go into your ball, you're really starting to pinpoint now where you're directing the awareness, and you have a little bit more control standing. Yeah, that's great. You have a little bit more control as you're at the wall of the pressure. Yes, so you can switch if you want to the pink ball, to a spiky ball, whatever you feel. So it might be back, yes. And one tool that I can offer that offers that, and you can stay with that. But I did create 2 tennis balls that are taped together. So that's where your spine goes, and that's on either side. Yeah, so you can just put, yeah, it's a really easy way. I do it with a hockey tape and tennis balls. Yeah, and so you can roll. Yeah, right? Yeah, and so you can roll it all the way up. And then you can take the ball, right, the 2 balls in time, and you can move it over to one side too. So you have it over on the right and the left, and then on the left, right, and you can go up and down. So getting a little bit more into each side. Mm-hmm. You got a spot right here. Ooh, yeah, so be a little bit gentle with that. Yeah. Yeah. And the breathing, right? Yeah. I didn't know I was holding it. Uh-huh. It does get really tight in there too. And I find too, like right around here, that connection of the pec into the deltoid. Mm-hmm. That's your pec minor. Yeah. So it might even be residual. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that hasn't fully released. Yeah. Yes. So I thank you. Kind of said I was going to come up and show it, and then we got into the wall. Yeah, and so that one as well. So you can go the front. The other one was when we were coming down a little bit more, and I'll move. Yeah, and so you're getting into the top of the traps. So you want to come down. So if I have right foot right top of the traps, and you're going to lean down a little bit farther, and then you just let the arms dangle. Yeah, so you can even go here if you need to. Yeah. Yeah, and even higher if it is, like sometimes on the top. Yeah, and you can go all across here. So right now, if I to show, yeah, if I can I position a tiny bit? Yeah. Feel the top of the traps there? Yeah, so you can go, it's just above the collarbone, right? And so it's in the groove above the collarbone and all across in there. Yeah, and so you can move it, if I put it up too high. How's that feeling? Different, right? Yeah, so we did a little bit of floor stuff, and then this is kind of an alteration of using the wall, which is a different relationship of kind of meeting the body, right? But really effective in its own way. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you can just find spots. Like I know for me, there's one spot that is always holding and a little bit wound in my body, which I hadn't got to. And so feel that coming in. Those of us that have tighter on one side, usually with scoliosis, you'll have one side to the left or the right of the spine, kind of hugging across the shelf or the upper spine of the crest of your ilium bone. And so you can take the ball just to the left or the right of the spine and then roll it across. And you might find this one, Peggy, is really helpful. And you just slowly just roll across. And sometimes I'll just find a spot and it'll just melt me and I'll just like stay there in a little compression. Yeah, so you can, as you find the crest of the hip just to the left or the right of the spine, and you're rolling the ball along the top crest of the ilium. Yeah, and you might find one side, right? If we have a little bit of imbalance from right to left hip, which some of us do, and we have like, you know, if you have one side, like your one side of your back that always says, whew. Yeah. And so you just want to notice, like, you know, hold it and be there softly. Remember, we've talked about as you're breathing, sometimes if you're in the epicenter where you feel the most sensation, you might just move a little bit left or a little bit right or a little bit below or a little bit above and kind of work around the epicenter. And then it will like release it, right? Yeah, yeah. The place with the most sensation where, you know, we kind of said, oh, sometimes it takes your breath away. And so you want to be able, and I'll share this again because it's really important. It was in some research that I watched in the fall before the holidays, that if you find a spot and you're rolling and the sensation is not lessening, then maybe you need to move off of it, or you need to go a little bit softer, or you need to use something that's a little bit more gentler. So that might mean moving back to a softer ball. Okay, so in time, it should be lessening in sensation. Okay, we're just going to be here for just 5 more minutes just to let go. Use your breath, specifically out the mouth. Does that feel better on your back? Shifting? Yes. Right there. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of a little bit like a, yeah. Yeah. It's some places when you drop it into your awareness, you can go, oh, I didn't know that was there. Yeah. I didn't know that was a spot that my body needed me to go into. Yeah. Yes. And now let your head go a little bit and just let it drop. Yeah. And you can drop Let me see your right foot back. So you can be even too in a stance with your left leg. There it is. And then let your head go and let your arms dangle. And there you go. You can kind of roll and it can go up to and the top of the shoulder. There you go. Now you're kind of feeling how you can use the feet to press into the wall and you're letting the head kind of go so you're not creating too much tension. And especially the arms too, right? Just to let them kind of dangle. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Did you want to use it for? Okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting though, right? Like when we release sometimes a spot, and I remember when we were doing this before, I think it was like 3-4 weeks ago, and I think Megan was saying, oh, I released something in my shoulder and I felt it go all the way down to the bottom of my leg. And yeah, and you really realize how, yeah, right, exactly, that, it shows you, oh, we are all connected. And sometimes when we feel a pull up in the shoulder, how it can affect so far distally in the body. And when you release that, you go, oh, okay. Exactly. It's a referred pain. So where the deepest sensation is, is quite fascinating on how it can affect, areas in the body that you weren't even aware were connected to that spot. Yeah. So we're just going to use the last couple minutes just to finish this off. So some of you are very familiar with this practice. Some of you, this is kind of a new practice. So it is a tool that you can use at home. And especially if we do go get regular massages, you can help the body stay looser on a day-to-day basis. So a good thing to check in tomorrow, if you go and you're like, oh, I really want to go back into ball rolling, and you find you're a little bit sensitive, then maybe it's a good idea just to take a break for a day and then go into it. So kind of ball rolling, it's sometimes nice to let the tissue heal for a day or two and then go back into it. If you notice, and I'll just say this, I'm sure, this happens to all of us. If you notice some bruising where you were ball rolling, that means that's a really good sign that you went too far. Okay, so we should never bruise the body when we're rolling or massaging or doing any type of release. Sometimes we always think, oh, if I press enough, my body will let go. But sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes we need to approach with softness and then allow the fascia to slowly unfold. Because it is filled with nerves and nerve sensory receptors. And because it is the place in the body that has the richest amount of nerves, we do want to approach it with kindness. Okay. So just checking in, where is the last part your body needs to let go of, that wants to roll to complete this practice? And then know you can come back to it at another time. I think with the week that we've had of starting the week off with the earth rumbling and then with all of the states kind of coming in and doing it, I think all of us have had parts of our body holding where we now are feeling that we're unwinding it. And so I just really wanted to bring in this time for us to let all of that go so that we're not taking it through the rest of the week. So take a few deeper breaths, let it out the mouth. Good. And then just finishing up in the next 20 to 30 seconds in that. It's interesting too how the nervous system starts to regulate, right? Yeah, we can notice if we've been in a higher state. So yawning is a really good sign. And I don't think I turned off when you guys asked me about the heater. So sorry about that. I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. So always check in with me if I forget. I turn it up when I arrive because the studio is quite cool, but then I forget. So thank you for reminding me around that. Okay, so we'll travel back to our mat and we're gonna, whew, that was great. That was like a, believe it or not, we spent 40 minutes of our class doing that. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it was just, I felt like we really, when I was asking, you know, I always kind of sit and pause in meditation and ask, like, what do we need? And it was like, I was like, yes, we all need to like unwind a little bit. So we're going to do a little flow to the floor. And so you're going to find one side of your mat, taking some liquid to nourish for sure. I'm going to go slow here until we get everyone aligned. And so really good to stay hydrated. The fascia is dependent on that. And so as you find the short end of your mat, just take a note as you're standing here, either with the eyes softly opened or lowered or closed. A little soft bend of the knees, just feeling into your body from when we first started. And you might be in stillness, you might have a little bit of movement to create that inquiry. The breath might deepen. You just let whatever needs to be here just to unfold, and just meeting yourself for a moment. So the simplicity and powerful nature of that practice. Sometimes good just to take that pause to notice, oh, what did that offer me? And when you're ready, just bringing the arms up, the palms of the hands touching the thumbs around your sternum area. They can even be leaning into the sternum up into the thumbs. You soften the shoulders. We're going to inhale. As we exhale, lower the arms down, knees bend, press off the feet, let the arms float up. Exhale, fold forward. Weight's going to shift back on the heels so that you can come down. And then one your forward fold, shift your heels and let the spine unfurl. Let your head fully go. Sometimes we're holding the head. And as we were speaking about when we felt the fascia release, you might notice, oh, I want to roll a little bit here, or parts of my legs feel a little bit calmer or more open. And then let's just come up halfway, just to a flat back. So the hands are going to be on the shins, below the knees, or above the knees on the thighs. And just stack the torso, the head, the pelvis, all in one line. Exhale, gather the front of the ribs, and some of you like that SH breath. And just pause here. See if you can release the arms and just let them dangle for a minute so you can hang off that zippering up of your core. Let the fingers wiggle, the thumbs. See if you can release any holding of tension in the palm of the hand. Dangling here off your core in a right angle for a moment. Reaching a little bit of energy forward out the top of your head and back out the pelvis, just to create some space in between vertebrae. And then the hands can choose to come back on the thighs or below on the shins. And you're going to take that length, roll back down. Now notice how you feel. Good. We're going to bend the knees and plant the hands onto the mat in front of the feet, nice and wide. So the width of the mat, stepping back, one foot, the other foot, big step into downward dog. So as you bend the knees, pressing the palms of the hands into the floor. And then walking it out. Good. And I'm just going to come down to check in to see what's happening. Yeah. Okay. A few different things going on in the shoulders. Okay. So when you're ready, come down. Take a moment in child's pose. So knees wide, hips sinking back or staying high, arms as we haven't done a lateral stretch yet, coming to each side. And passing through center as you inhale and then exhale to the other side. Take a moment to pause in center. Taking a few more breaths there. We're going to come up in a moment to sit. And so being in kneeling, I know for a lot of us isn't a comfortable place when you come up to sit right from child's pose. If it is, you can be there, or you can just roll off and swing the legs forward. So legs can be straight, they can be crossed. I just want you to feel that you can stay in a neutral pelvis. So that might be, one leg in, one leg out. Okay, so the legs are just finding comfort because the focus is going to be a little bit more on the shoulders. So I just want you to feel, we're going to do one shoulder at a time. So let's bring our right arm up, and I want you to turn the palm of the hand to face the side of your skull. Good, and then I just want you to check in. What's your shoulder blade doing? Yeah, so it's an interesting one to think about. And so I want you to focus on your shoulder blade, okay, which is right here, which we talked about is connected all through. So the shoulder blade comes around and it connects to a bone on the top of the shoulder, it connects to your collarbone, so they're all interconnected. So as we're here, I want you to, even if you just need to bend the elbow and not have the arm fully up, I want you to see, can you lift your shoulder blade up? Can you depress the shoulder blade down? Just do that a couple times. Up and down. Good. And up and down. Okay. And then I want you to do it on the other side. So we're just bringing the arm up. And soften it. Let the elbow come a little bit more forward. So a little bit of an internal rotation. Feeling shoulder blade up and down. So these are really fine movements. Yes. And so one side might feel, it feels like I can move it. And the other side might go, I feel a little bit stuck, right? And so I know for me, I've had some injuries on my left side that I'm kind of working through. And I feel a little bit more stuck on my left side. So I notice when I try to move my left shoulder blade, it doesn't move as well as my right. So I learn from my right. Okay. And then just pause. And then I want you to do it with just your arms down. So I want you to just feel, so not so much of your shoulders coming up. I want you to think of your shoulder blades. See if you can lift your shoulder blades up and then down and then up and then down. So a lot of the time when you're going into downward dog, your shoulder blades, for a lot of us, not all of us, are doing this. Okay. And so when you're here, so just showing you, because we're going to go back into downward dog, is the hands are really close together and there's this that's happening in the shoulder girdle. So what is happening is when you lift your shoulder blade up, you're at the very top, right? Switch your feet, legs. You're at the very top of the ball of the socket. So it is a pear shape. So the top is very shallow. The bottom is very deep. So when you go to lift your arm up and when you're putting weight on it, you want to be pulling and depressing the shoulder blade down so that the ball is more in the depth of the shoulder socket. If not, what is creating here is you get what is called an impingement in the shoulder. You can tear and get into your rotator cuffs. because there's a little shelf here. It's called your acromion shelf. And you can get jammed in here. So one of the things I want you to do is separate your arms a little bit wider, draw the shoulders down, and these are your inner elbow points. When you're in downward dog, sometimes you're letting your inner elbow points fling out. So just do that. Notice what's happening. Ooh, doesn't feel very good, right? And so if you think of gathering your inner elbow points, you can feel how it rotates the shoulder blades on the back of the ribs. So you want your shoulder blades to stay in contact with the ribs. So I want you to go into it again. So I'm just going to show you what the difference it looks like. So these are all, because when you go upside down and I say these cues to you, it's a little bit muddled, right? So that's why I do it upright, because when you invert, so just watch for a moment. So here's my shoulder blades. I'm gonna do all the cues inverted because I am inverted. They're rising up, right, towards the ears. So I'm gonna depress them. I'm gonna pull them up towards my hips. So there's up, I'm pulling up, and then I'm gathering my inner elbows a little bit. See how my shoulder blades hugged on to my rib cage, and I've got a lot more freedom here in the neck. You're really pressing in the palm of the hand. So this V here is a really strong place in the hand to root. Okay, so when we go up, I want you to think wider. Okay, tuck the toes under. We're gonna just start to lift the knees a little bit and feel this pressing down and then come down. And so, Mom, how are your wrists on this one? Is it too much? Because you can go down on forearms here as well, right? Because that wrist bone, I don't want to stress it. So if your wrists are feeling, this is too much, remember you can be on forearms. So very soft fist to find that space. Your hands are farther forward than your shoulders a little bit. You're just feeling shoulder blades drawing down. Press the hands, the feet, if you're on your elbows, forearms, elbows, into the floor, and just hover your knees. Pull the belly in. And then go down, do that 1 or 2 times. Press down, hover the knees, pull in through the abdomen, zip up through your zipper, come down. And then this time as you press down through hands, toes, allow your hips to lift up, but keep pressing the palm of the hands or the forearms into the floor as you lengthen through your torso. Slide the shoulder blades up your back and gather your inner elbows a little bit. Aha. Catherine, I'm going to shift you, if you're okay with me altering. So I'm going to get you to come down. I want you to bring your pinkies all the way out to the outer edge of your mat. There you go. Because you have really nice broad shoulders. You can come down at any time. So I want to give you that space. Here is a little bit, it's more narrow for your shoulders. Your shoulders are wider, right? Yeah. And so when you're ready and you're pressing into that, yeah, even if you want to come a little bit forward, there we go. Okay, so now as you come up and in, yeah, let the hips come up, relax your head. Good, bend your knees now. Now, press the hands into your floor. Is it okay if I touch your torso? Okay, so you're gonna bring your torso back. Yeah, keep going back. There it is. Okay. Yes. Now release your head a little bit. There you go. You can feel your arms working, right? Yes. Aha, there's your downward dog. Feel the difference of that? Yes. And really press this V into the floor. There it is. And then in time, this is going to widen. Yes, there it is. Yes, you've got it. That looks so much better. It might feel that it's a lot more work for you, but in sense, yeah, right? And then if you went from here to here, yeah. So try it again, just so you can feel yourself go into it without me offering it. Yeah, hips up and back. Keep the knees bent though, because your tendency is to want to, relax your head. There it is. Gather the ribs in. Good, yes. Right, it pops out. So you want to gather it in, right? You hyperextend through your elbows, right? So this is a really good question. So some of us are able to really hyperextend through our elbow. Exactly. So you want to try to have, when you're here, it's not that, it's not that. It's a little bit in between. So the crease of your arm is a little bit of a 45. Yeah. Yeah. Great questions here. And fingers are pointing straight ahead, Seamus, and wide. Nice and spread, spread them, spread it. There you go. Press into them. Good. And let your head go, Peggy. There it is. Okay. So one thing, if I can touch, this is your left side from armpit to head. There you go. There it is. And bend your knees a little bit more and let that come back. There. See the length now that's come into that side for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can take rest. Release it out. Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Little bit of a bend, right? They have a little bit of a bend and the knees bend. Yes, there it is. Yes. Yes. That's it right there, Angela. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So one thing, there's always been this debate in yoga, which I find really fascinating. It's this mound here, this mound of the index. And there's been, a debate sometimes, like, does it feel okay to let it pop up, which is what happens a lot in our hand. And so I played with it and I thought, okay, well, what happens to my shoulder when this knuckle pops up and when I depress it into the floor? So I just want you, I'll see if you can notice the difference. So there's up and there's down. There's up, there's down. So one thing I notice, and I don't know if it's subtly showing, is that when I pop it up, I feel like this part of the shoulder is pulling away from the socket. Yeah, and when I press this down, it draws the front part of my shoulder into my socket. So I'm not stressing on the anterior deltoid and the ligaments all in the front. So I'm curious, if you go up one more time, see if you can press this pad of the index into the floor and see if that makes a difference. And sometimes you got to look, okay, where is that? And so I think it was on your right hand more so, Angela, for you, that it lifted. Yeah, that's different now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. And let your head go. Let your head go, Catherine. Yeah, there it is. Always think when you're in downward dog, you're looking at your feet. Yeah. Did you guys notice anything? Anything different in it? A little bit? Okay. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things in yoga that I think a lot of teachers go into and just assuming people know it, and they use it as what is called a lot of the time as a resting pose. And I'm like, there's no rest happening in this, right? Like, you're active, you're aware. And even though that pose has been part of my practice forever, I feel like I can understand maybe what some of them say, because I do have a level of ease, but I'm not resting, right? I'm very active and aware of what's happening. Okay, so the other one I want you to focus on, and we're just going to sit for a moment. We can do this we're going to do it seated, and then we're going to do it on hands and knees or elbows and knees. But I wanted to take some weight off the wrist. So I'm just showing you my back, and I want to focus on the space in between. So your rhomboids are in between. And so I just want you to feel, and this is done without changing the relationship of the spine. You're just focusing on shoulder blades. Okay, so you're going to squeeze shoulder blades together. So I can think of this whole line of the spine, squeezing the spine of the shoulder blade, squeezing towards the spine. And then I can feel them pulling apart. So this is your serratus muscle, which is underneath. It starts underneath your shoulder blade and it wraps around. So what its job is to protract, which means to pull your shoulder blades apart. Your rhomboid's job is to pull your shoulder blades together. So there needs to be a balance. So if you catch yourself and you're sitting like this a lot, that means you have weak serratus or weak rhomboids. So if you pull, all you have to do is squeeze your shoulder blades together and it brings you up into a seated position. Okay? If you're overly kind of lifted, kind of what we would call sometimes very stuck here, you've got too much tension in between the shoulder blades and you need to bring in what is called your serratus anterior muscles, which is protraction. So you're pulling apart. So when you just do both, pull apart, squeeze together. Sometimes when we have awareness around the shoulder blades of feeling, oh, one's stuck, or I'm not really aware of what's happening. It's different. And you can find a place, and sometimes that will reflect how you feel in your lower back too, because I notice if I'm not paying attention to what my shoulder blades are doing, I'll get referred pain down my back. My scoliosis will kind of take over. So you can even feel sometimes the bottom tips of the shoulder blades squeezing in. And I notice on my left side, my left bottom tip doesn't have a strong awareness. So I bring it in and I can feel a release through the front of my chest too, which is quite interesting. So I just wanted to chat about that. Yeah, you do want to involve them because the shoulder blades are going to sit on that support. So they are there. They're maybe not so much in the forefront, but they're there working as a team. Yeah. And you might notice, yeah, one side, right? One side is a little bit different. Can you feel a difference from right to left? Yeah. Blades together a little bit. Yeah, because you're getting using your rhomboids as much as you should. So anytime you feel that tension in the back, it means that you're fatiguing. It's a myofascia one where you feel tight but long, right? So this is a tight, long posture in my back. I'm tight, I'm weak, and I'm stuck in a long position. This is stuck in too tight, short. And so sometimes we're in between. And so just being able to where your shoulder blades can move up, they can move down, they can move in, and they can move out. They also have an awareness where they can abduct away. So they're doing a wing, and they can adduct towards the spine. Your shoulder blades have 6 movements that they can do, which is astonishing to think about in this little beady, tiny little shoulder socket. Right? So it is the joint that has the most range of motion in your body, but the most complex muscle structure. Okay, so let's lie down. We're going to release the body now because we've done a lot of work. Okay, you're going to check in because your strap is going to be really close. We are ending with some strap work today to release. I'm just going to undo mine. Okay, it's not looped in any way. You're just having it close by you. You're drawing the legs into the chest. Just giving a moment to roll around on the back. Okay, so we were asking the back muscles to do quite a bit of work for us, and we were mobilizing the shoulder blades. I'm going to continue to expand and do some work around here. But this was a really foundational class that will allow for a little bit more ease as we move through the month of March, bringing in that relationship of shoulder blades and pelvis. Yeah, and gardening, right? When we're getting into gardening season is coming up. It's already, right? We've been in the yard as well and just preparing the yard. So yeah, it's happening. Okay, so when you're ready, place the feet on the floor. Now you're going to check in with your body. And some of you might find, my slow-mo ball is way over there, so I'm not going to use it, but you might find that you can put your slow-mo ball, a block beside your left hip, just something there in case you need it, so that the left hand can easily grab it. We're going to start with right leg. So you're going to draw the right leg up and towards you, externally rotate it, put the strap around that mound of the big toe and the pinky toe. So you're going across your transverse arch. And you're going to bend the knee a little bit and you're going to slide your hands down so your elbows and the back of your arms, which are your tricep muscles, are anchoring into the floor. So this is really helpful for strengthening the lower part of the trapezius, which help to keep your shoulder blades anchored. Okay, so I want you to even out. Your hands should be really soft here. The tendency is to grip. So push the foot up into the strap, bend the knee, soften the hand. So there's an evenness of pushing and pulling on the strap. Now we're going to circle the leg. So either with the hands being passive and the leg circling us, or the leg being passive and the hands using the strap to circle the leg. Go in both directions. Feel your whole leg. That relationship of foot through shin, through knee, to thigh, to pelvis, the ball of the hip socket. Each direction happens. Notice what your left foot is doing. Your big toe and your inner heel of that left foot's going to want to wander. Keep it rooted into the floor. Okay, pause. Now we're going to lower the leg down. You choose. Is it best to exhale here? And then inhale and lift the leg up using your core support. Letting the leg swing in the air. Now keep awareness that you're evenly weighting both back of the hips. So right hip, right leg is going to be heavy, but I want your left hip, left leg, left foot to stay connected into the floor. Good. If you have strain in the neck, pop a chip foam block, which has the black cover under the head. Okay, now we're going to pause and we're going to go lateral. So we're going to take that right leg, your left hand can take the strap, and you're going to lean over onto your left side. So this is when the block or the strap, the block or the slow-mo ball can come in. If you don't want to go all the way, you can put the block underneath the outside of the leg. Some of you I know like to drop that left leg to the floor. I like to put the block on top of my inner left thigh and let the right thigh lean on top of it. And so I want you to check in what your right foot is doing. So I want you to have a reach through the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound, the inner heel and the outer heel, but also feel that the thigh bone is drawing back so that the ball of the right hip is in relationship to the socket. And you lift up on your core, that inner zipper. When you have that, your hands can be so quiet that you can even let go of the strap and your arms can rest on the floor. Yes. Use the integrity of inner strength to support the outer body. See if your head wants to be looking towards your left side, your left leg, up to the ceiling. Maybe a little bit over to the right. Keep the ribs gathering together through center line, in and down. Notice your breath. I'm going to hover here for a little bit longer. If at any time you need to come out, please come out. We're just releasing backline because we did a lot of work on strengthening it and bringing in awareness. So just want to make sure that we're not leaving class with any tension. So you decide over the next, it might be one breath, it might be up to 5. If you have a block in between the thighs, you release it. You allow that leg to come back up. We're going to sneak that left foot up into the strap, widen the legs, bend the knees considerably to go into our modified baby. Let the swing. If you want to go deeper into baby pose, feel free. You can just let go of the strap. You can hang both ankles or toes. Your choice here. Just notice that you're not bringing a lot of strain into the neck if you do grab the ankles or the feet. Allow your breath to be fluid. Good. You're going to pull down on the strap. The feet are going to slide together. You're going to sneak that right foot out. Right foot comes to the floor. Elbows drop to the floor. Soft hands. A little bit of a bend of your left knee. So remember, you're evening out that push and pull, pushing your foot up into the strap and pulling on the strap. So feel heavy first. Both sides of the pelvis are anchored as you start to circle one direction. And you feel both shoulder blades on the floor. So you go the other direction. There's a relationship of the plate of the shoulder blade and the plate of the ilium. That's the outside of your hip. And so you might feel if one side lifts, it might have a relationship with the same shoulder blade. Sometimes it goes in opposite. And when you're ready, you're going to lower leg down. Keep that bend of the knee. And then lifting up on your core as you keep both back of the hips anchored into the floor. Your right foot is attentive. Right toe, right inner heel, pinky toe, outer heel. Feel the fluidity as we bring ease through the muscles and the fascia. And when that's complete, I forgot to get you to move your block and support over to the other side. Apologize for that. If you haven't, just move it over. And then you're going to allow, as an inhale, exhale, the right hand holds the straps as you roll onto your right side, choosing, does the right outer hip and the right leg want to come down to the floor? Do you want to use the block on the inside of the right thigh again? I've got the wall here, so I'm just going to use the wall. Reaching through the big toe and the pinky toe mound evenly, inner heel, outer heel. And then that little bit of awareness of your thigh bone, of pulling the thigh bone back towards the left hip. So the ball of the left hip socket. So the ball of the left hip is in relationship with the hip socket. And that will allow you to lengthen through your sit bones, pull up through your core. Hands and arms will be very soft. Some of you will be able to let go of the strap. Keep zippering up through the body. Yeah, good. Come out if you need to. Each side is very different here. Stay for as many breaths here as it feels good for you. Your body will tell you, oh, I feel ready to release. Check in if you want to go back into baby pose again. Sneaking the feet up into the strap. I'm just going to do it without the strap, wipering. And then we're just going to rest. Your body might ask you to do a different movement when you come out, but just check in and just feel relationship to the floor to start. Thinking of a starfish in the sand. If that pulls on your lower back in any way, just bend your knees. But allow your arms to take up as much space as it needs to, away from the body, back of the hands on the floor. Let your exhalation out the mouth float in. Noticing the work that we did today in connecting the whole body. Piece that I'm going to share with you as we rest here for another minute. So it's on self-love. Self-love will heal you, empower you, restore you, and open up new worlds within you and all around you. Self-love is the key to your mental, spiritual, and emotional health. Every aspect of your life thrives when you love who you are and accept yourself. It all begins with you. It all begins with you. We'll take another 20 seconds here before we awaken. Just feeling the right side of your body and the left side of your body. And the joining of the two sides together. And then feel your fingers wiggle a little bit. Feel that connection up through the arms, into the shoulders, into your shoulder blade. It's not just fingers to elbows to shoulder, it's from fingers, elbows, shoulder to shoulder blade. That's your whole wing. And then as you wiggle the toes and the feet, you can feel that relationship from the legs through the knees, the pelvis. You can lengthen and stretch. Take some time to roll over onto one side. And then find your place of seated, however the legs want to be. And then just take a moment just to feel your shoulder blades. So if you find your heart dropping, and the chest dropping in the front, can you maybe squeeze the shoulder blades a little bit towards the spine? If you've got too much, you might just widen the shoulder blades a little bit. As we exhale out the mouth, and the arms start to reach up. Remember, the palms can turn down as they pass the height of the shoulder. Now think of your arms, your shoulder blades drawing down as your arms go up. Palms touch, anchoring down through the front of the body. The arms come down, you receive. And we're going to go through that 2 more times. As the arms come up, think of the ball of the shoulder descending as the shoulder blade drops down your back. And then the next time, you're going to pause with hands at heart. And we'll just open our eyes. Have a good day, Angela. Enjoy the sunshine. Thank you all for being here. You're welcome. No, it's all right. Hmm. So take note of how you're feeling over the next little while and feel free to share anything that's kind of happening or you're sensing or you're wondering. Because obviously the engagement from you is really helpful for me.